Dr. Erdaw, you can continue. You are on mute, Dr. Erdaw.
Hello?
Dr. Erdaw ይሰማሃል? Dr. Erdaw mute ላይ ነህ?
አንድ እዚህ እንትን ተቋረጠብኝ ድምፅ።
አሁን ይሰማል ዶክተር እርዳው ስም ድምጽ። ሄሎ ዶክተር እርዳው
ያ ይሰማል እኔ?
ይሰማል? አዎ አሁን ጥሩ ነው። ይሰማል ዶክተር እርዳው? ሄሎ I think connection challenge ይመስለኛል። እሺ I think ጊዜያችንን እንዳናባክል ብንጀምር የተሻለ ስለሚሆን የዛሬውን አቅራቢ አስተዋውቃለሁ። እኔ አዳሙ አዲስ ይባላለሁ። የኢንስቲትዩሽናል ሪቪው ቦርድ የኮሌጁ ሰብሳቢ ነኝ። ዶክተር አቡሌ ክል ስለገጠመው እሱ ተመልሶ እስኪገባ ይቅርታ ዶክተር እርዳው ማለት ነው ችግር ስለገጠመው አቅራቢውን አስተዋውቃለሁ። አሁን መጣል እርዳው
ይሰማል?
አዎ ትሰማለህ? አዎ
Okay, so thank you. Interconnection እንትን እያለኝ ነው። So Dr. Abulie are you hearing? Yeah. Dr.
Yes.
Abulie is an associate professor of reproductive health and working in the Ministry of Education, particularly as the head of research ethics desk. He will talk on National Research Ethics Review Technical Guideline today for this virtual training, and everybody welcome to this session. And I hope you'll have a productive time, and we expect to have active participation from every member, and we'll have a short discussion point at the end of the session. Thank you. Dr. Abulie, you can take the floor, and you can continue.
Okay, thank you all of you for attending this webinar, and I also like to thank Addis Ababa University College of Health Science to facilitate this session and allow me to present the National Research Ethics Review Technical Guideline, so that we will have understanding of the guideline, and we will implement the guideline in the future in our activities as a member of Research Ethics Review Board Committee, or as a professional practicing in research, because ethics is mandatory to conduct a study. So I will present the main components of the guideline that will allow us to understand the guideline, as well as to raise some questions that may require clarification and understanding of the guideline at all levels. As a content, these are the contents of my presentation. First of all, I will raise some issues about the background, why research is needed, and what is the focus of particularly this guideline, and what is the objective about authorities regarding implementation of this guideline, the scope of the guideline, the principle, particularly the ethical principles, and organizational structure and the mandate, particularly focusing on Ministry of Education. And the other point that I will raise is about the composition and the term of members of the National Research Ethics Review Board, as well as the Institutional Research Ethics Review Committee. And
Dr. Abulie, the slide is not moving. Still, the first slide ብቻ ነው የሚታየን።
Okay, second line ያለውት አየሄድ አይደለም። አሁን
ብትነካው ጥሩ ነው ወይ? ስላይዱን
እየነካሁት ነው።
እየሄደ አይደለም።
ኦኬ፣ አሁን እየሄደ ነው።
እየሄደ አይደለም።
እሱን ስላይዱ ላይ ወይ ሁለተኛው ላይ ክሊክ ታርክ።
አሁንስ
ፉል ስክሪን አይደለም የሚታየንም።
እኔ ጋር ፉል ነው የሚያሳየኝ።
ኦኬ
ድጋሚ ሼር ቢደረግ ጥሩ ነው።
ያው ነው ሼር ልበለው እንደገና ቆይ
እንደገና
ድጋሚ
ሪሙቭ
share
አድርገው ሪሙቭ አድርግና ሼር አድርገው እንደዚህ ታንክ ዩ
አይታይም።
አይ ቲንክ ምናልባት ሌላ ስላይድ ከፍተህ እንዳይሆን
ራሱ ነው ሌላ ስላይድ የለም።
ከዚህ ላይ ሪሙቭ ላድርገው ሪሙቭ እንደገና እኔ ስቶፕ ላድርገውና ከዛ እንደገና ሪሼር አድርገው እንደ አዲስ
እሺ
እንደዚህ
هذا عوض إذا يعني
what happens? ተቋርጧል ዶክተር አቡሌ ኦር
እሱ ሼር ላድርገው ስላለን እየጠበኩት ነው ዶክተር አዳሙ።
አይ አይደለም
እኔ ራሴ ላድርገው።
አንተው እንድታደርገው ነው። ይቅርታ ሪሼር አድርግ ነው ያልኩት። ሶሪ ራስ ማኔጅ ብታ ኦኬ አሁን ጥሩ ነው።
አሁን ደግሞ አሁን ይታያል።
በጣም ጥሩ ነው።
ይቀይራል። The last part will be about review process mechanism and monitoring and reporting of institutional research ethics review committee to the national board. So as a background, just as you all know, research is conducted for the benefit and welfare of the society. And this guideline focuses about human health research, environmental, animal, plant, and engineering researches, and focusing on these 5 major components. I will try to brief how the guideline is these 5 areas of research, focusing on research ethics. So we will have these historical events that has been tried before, just to ensure ethical conduct of research. Different ministries and institutions, including some higher education and association, have tried to work on research ethics, to consider some of them: Science and Technology Commission, Science and Technology Agency, and Science and Higher Education, the previous ministry, and now Ministry of Education, Addis Ababa University, Armor Hansen Research Institute, and the likes, and Health and Nutrition Research Institutes and Ethiopian Public Health Association, DACA, and the likes have tried a lot to have ethical conduct of research, and they are still working on that. So today, just the focus is to bring all these efforts together and work more efficiently than before, so that we will have a good conduct of research that is ethical throughout the country. So as a criteria, that there should be ethical justification and scientific validity of the research in terms of ethics, and the science and the social value of the community or the research participants should be focused, and there should be a favorable or tolerable risk and benefit ratio that is obtained from the study, or that will come during and after the study. And the other is about fair selection and enrollment of participants in a study in ethical manner. The issue of privacy and confidentiality, independency of research ethics review committee, informed consent issues, and the community engagement are some of the main criteria that we may implement in using or in conducting research. So the general objective of the guideline is just to set a framework that ensures the safety and the benefits of humans, animals, and environment, while conducting research just by applying ethical procedures and principles. And there are two specific objectives. The first is just to undergo research ethics activities and a review system within a sense of accountability and responsibility. The other is safeguarding the community from economic, cultural, and social influence due to lack of ethical compliance. So this guideline is developed based on the power that is given or vested to Ministry of Education by Proclamation number 1263/2021. As you all know, there is national legislation for education, which is 1152, which is the previous one. Within the current government structure, that proclamation is reinforced just by the proclamation number 1263/2021, which that is the responsibility of that was given by the previous proclamation, and to work on the points that were raised on that proclamation are still active. The other is the scope of this guideline. This guideline is perceived to be applied on all research involving human, animal, plant, environment, and engineering fields. So when you come to the ethical principles, this principle may vary from discipline to discipline. And when we see, for example, that of human beings, it focuses on respect of a person, beneficence or non-maleficence, justice, and informed consent are the main ones. Still, there are also some other principles that we may follow in conducting research, but these are the basic. Any researcher or any person who involve or who want to practice research need to consider these points when you say that research is conducted in ethical manner. For animals also, there are some basic principles that the researcher needs to follow. The first one, for example, is replacement, meaning that if a researcher can replace using animals by other means, it is the responsibility of the researcher to replace and minimize the risk and maximize the benefit. The other is reduction. Reduction, for example, how many entities or how many animals will get involved in that study can be minimized if there is potential or option of minimizing. And the other is need to refine which particular number and type or the legs are involved in that study. Again, in case of plant research also, there should be a principle that the researcher is expected to follow, and to mention some of the main and the basic one: proper deployment of genetic materials or storage of the genetic materials, which is nowadays a very serious issue because of technological advancement and scientific advancement. There are a lot of issues under here. There are some transfer of genetic material from plants and from different sources that may affect the benefits of the society or the benefit of the country at large if that is not properly reserved and ethically managed in conducting research. And the other is benefit sharing. The benefits that is obtained from conducting that study should be shared to the beneficiaries, particularly to the communities, to the country, and those who have role in that study should get the ideal benefits that they are expected to get. And the other is the issue of justice. In justice, there should be fairness in conducting any research on plants. And the other, there are some general guiding principles in conducting research. And as advancement of science and technology, there are some challenges than just simply getting the advantage. So how can we manage these challenges and maximize the benefit? And that also requires us some guiding principles. From this, just what we all know is about the issue of maleficence, non-interference, fidelity, justice, and precautionary principles should be considered in conducting research. concerning the researches that are conducted on engineering and technology, there are also some principles that we need to follow or expected to follow. The first one is implementing or using should be as accurate as and as regular as possible, so that we can maximize the benefit we get from the study. The other is honesty and integrity, and the other one is respect of life, law, and public good that is obtained from the study and while conducting the study. The other is organizational structure. Just the current structure of the Ministry of Education is just there is a ministry where there are two ministerial data. One is for basic education and the other is for higher education development sector. And under higher education development sector, there is CO for research and community engagement. Under that, there are 4 desks, among which research ethics desk is one, or the secretariat, and the other is there is National Research Ethics Review Board, and the other one on the lower level of structure is Institutional Research Ethics Review Committee, which is established in different institutions, research institutes, universities, associations, and other organizations based on their demand. So when you see our ministry, in the ministry, as I mentioned, there are sections or structures that are already implemented, and there is also different disciplinary professionals that are included and employed as permanent employees in the Ministry of Education. The previous one is just conducted by few number of individuals with specifically more focusing on human health. But nowadays, the new structure considers what I mentioned earlier: animal health, plants research, environment, and technologies. So at least there is one vacant space or one vacant possibility of employing an individual for each discipline. And most currently we have 2 individuals from health, and the others are still vacant, and possibly announcement will come soon, and we will have individuals from plant science, animal science, environment, and technology. So the ministry will follow overall activity of this sector. And the CO of research and community engagement has also its own responsibility, and these are some of the responsibilities. So it overall sees the completeness of research ethics review activities and guide and properly follow the work of the desk as well as the National Research Ethics Review Board, and facilitate conditions for its activities and implementation. The other is the desk, and the desk also have its own responsibility. And the first is receiving and acknowledging research protocols for application for ethical review, and facilitate this ethical review process and undertake these activities that we are looking on the slides. Just to cite some of them, just ensure the completeness of application documents, whether the document that is being applied for ethical review is whether it is complete or incomplete. If it is complete and acceptable for review, just it will present to the board or assign individuals who can review the protocols. In the future presentation, we will see what procedures we will follow in doing so, or in reviewing a protocol. Another is facilitation of regular and extraordinary meeting. Ideally, there is a monthly meeting of the board, where the board will discuss on different issues that may come from reviewers, or that may come to the board or presented to the board by the secretariat or by the desk, and pass some decisions for approving that particular research protocol. And the other is the National Research Ethics Review Board. Again, the board has also given some responsibilities of doing its activity, and among which just looking at into protocols or proposals that are submitted to the Secretariat and presented to the board, and it also evaluates, for example, how exchange of biological material, whether it is of human, animal, plant, or other microorganisms, are seen and what should be done, and approves based on whether it follows ethical principles or not. For example, if there is signed agreement between those who can take the sample abroad and who receives the sample, and there should be an agreement for such material transfer. And research protocols related to clinical trial are also reviewed by the board, and research ethics application for genomical research or stem cell researches are also given as a mandate to the National Research Ethics Review Board. In other cases, what the board is expected is to see proposals or protocols that may come in certain emergency conditions or in certain humanitarian crisis event. We can cite as an example the what was faced during COVID outbreak. At that time, the board would decide whether that project or protocol is to be proceeded or to be evaluated and approved, or to be corrected and then resubmitted, and the likes are being conducted by the board. And other, it registers, reviews, and approves the protocols that are submitted to the board by different levels of research ethics committee. It may be from level A or from level B, institutional research ethics committee. As an operation, just it works just by being directed by a chairperson. The board has its own chairperson and vice chairperson and the secretary. The secretariat or the research ethics desk is just by default the secretary. The others are selected from different institutions, from different professional backgrounds. In the previous case, most of the members of the board are from human health, but now currently we are preparing to include all disciplines from animals, plants, environment, and technology, as well as social representative or community representatives are considered, and we will also consider external reviewers based on the demand. The other is institutional research ethics review committee. This is established, as I mentioned, at an institution level. Such institution may be university, it may be research institute, or it may be a regional or health bureau, hospital, or any professional societies that demand the establishment of research ethics. So they can follow the guideline and establish their own research ethics committee, which will work on those institutions following the guidelines and communicates with the national or the ministry level research ethics review board. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are two levels of such committee, or the institutional research ethics review committee. The first one is level A, and the second one is level B. And the difference between level A and level B research ethics review committee is that there is mandate difference. And when you consider that of level A, in level A, ethical decisions on experimental research activities that do not involve material transfer can be reviewed. If there is a need for material transfer abroad for investigation, there is a need to approve such proposals by the National Research Ethics Review Board, because the mandate to allow the transfer of material for laboratory investigation or further other investigations is given to the national level or to the National Research Ethics Review Board. And also reviews emergency and humanitarian crisis research projects that are of national interest and national priority. And this can be approved by the national, but they can be revised and evaluated at level A, research institute ethics review committee. The other as responsibility, level A and level B also have a responsibility to develop a standard operation procedures that guide their activity. Each research ethics review committee needs to have its own SOP or a standard operation procedure, because this is the guide that will guide the review process, and it also assists those individuals or experts who are working under the committee or works within the committee. So it is very important, and it is mandatory to have SOP or standard operation procedure for every research ethics review committee. And also this level reviews protocols applied for from level B because there is mandate difference, and the other is as usual they are expected to report to the national level what they have done or what their activities they have performed, and can also conduct joint ethical review, and can also solicit funds or budget for capacity building and provide training. The other is level B. Just level B, as I mentioned earlier, it is just similar to that of level A, but the difference is on the 2 points that I have raised earlier and indicated in red. The first one is protocols that demand transfer of material abroad for investigation, as well as conducting reviews for certain events in humanitarian and some crisis events that may require national review board. The other is almost the same. For example, there is a need to conduct review on protocols that involves minimal risk. This need to be operationalized and stated in the SOP or standard operation procedure. For example, what does it mean when one says minimal risk should be stated there in the SOP, and then there is a need to have their own SOP or standard operation procedure. There is a need to they have a mandate to solicit funds to build their capacity, progress report to the national board, and conduct joint ethical review board. The other is composition and terms of the committee, either for national or for institutional research ethics review board. As a composition, there is a need to have a professional mix with a number of ideally from 11 to 15, and of which one layperson is represented from the society. And there should be a regular meeting or for review of protocols, and they are expected to take basic research ethics training, and they need to have their own chair and a vice chairperson. And members become active upon accepting the invitation by the appointing authority. It is usually by the head of that specific institution, association, or organization, and their responsibility of reviewing protocols that are submitted to the board, and that the committee is also have responsibility to report. And attending of regular meeting is again expected, because as a group work or as a committee work, the decision is not by a single individual or by two individuals. That there is a need to have about more than half 50+1. If it is less than 50%, the decision is not accepted. And they are also expected to maintain a document, and every member needs to have a declaration of conflict of interest, particularly on protocols that may come on board for review on that specific meeting. If there is a conflict of interest, that individual need to tell to the committee, to the board, and can withdraw himself from that decision. And other some issues of maintaining privacy and confidentiality of documents and their deliberation and during the meeting process should be secured, and all members need to get oriented As a term of service, just 3 years is stated here for both the National and Institutional Research Ethics Committee, unless otherwise they have decided to leave the committee by their own and by just applying this to the committee, or either they have terminated by other justifiable reason, they can serve for 3 years once they have selected, and membership can be renewed only for the second term or 1 term additional if majority vote is secured for that particular member. And there may be some possibility of termination of individuals from the committee members, as I mentioned earlier, that may be voluntarily, or members who ask to terminate from membership should submit just a request that they have interest to terminate from the committee member just prior to a month. Just this is to provide timing for replacement of that individual. So as a requirement of registration of Institutional Research Ethics Committee, there are some requirements that are stated on the guideline, so that there is formation of Research Ethics Committee in that particular center or institution. So the first is, by principle, all committees that are working in different institutions should be registered at national level, and this registration is for 2 years. After 2 years, there is a need to renew that registration, and for renewal and the follow-up, there should be reporting what activities they have done should be reported to the National Research Ethics Review Board, and they should maintain the minimum acceptable number of members for which they can practice reviewing protocols, and the minimum number is 5. The ideal number, as I mentioned earlier, is 11 to 15, but the minimum is 5. And all members should be from the same professional background. That means there should be professional mix, because protocols from different disciplines, and individual committee members should be from different professional. And institutions that seek registration of committee or IRC shall apply in writing just to get registered by the secretariat or at national level. And in that case, they need to apply, and they need to prepare their working area, their office, and they need to prepare the individuals who are members, who will be members of the committee, and they should have handled all information pertaining to their members. For example, they need to have curriculum vitae of that individual, and there should be letter of appointment that is given to that individual, and those individuals who are members of the committee should get basic research ethics training. This is what we have been doing so far, and but still we are working. But for the future, even there are possibilities that are coming to just advance the training of research ethics. Just as an information, or as I know, Addis Ababa University College of Health Science have launched a program just at master's level under public health or MPH as a specific track of research ethics. That is a good news, and that will advance the possibility of getting more trained individuals on research ethics. And such committees should have their own SOP, as I mentioned. They need to prepare that before being registered. That is one criteria of being registered. The other is a review mechanism, and the mechanism of review. Under the mechanism of review, there are different principles that we may follow. The first is risk of participants that can be, how it can be minimized should be considered, and selection of the study participant, determining that informed consent is sought from each participant should be considered in the review process. And in case assent is needed for particularly participants who are under the age of 18 or who cannot give consent owing to different reasons, assent is very important. So that should be indicated depending on the nature of the participants of that particular study. And for those who can give consent, there should be informed consent, and this consent accomplishment should follow the principles or all basic principles of taking consent. For example, if a person is a person able to give or capable of giving consent should be considered, and how that consent is obtained from that individual or that individual or that group. Is there any means that an individual or a group is coerced to participate in the study using different means? It should be avoided. If a person or if a group is influenced by different approach, for example, using our authorities or using political power or using giving or withholding resources, even the issue of covering some expenses that the individual has expended during a study or in participating in the study should be considerable or should be ideal, because there is a fear that people or researchers may influence by giving certain payment or giving certain advantage or benefit. So that should be avoided by principle, and such benefits should be ideal just to compensate the loss that individual face due to participation in that particular study. And the others as indicated. And in reviewing, there are also the other approach is expedited review, where we can select some individuals from the board member, and we will allow them to review the proposal. They also follow the same as that of the initial or the general review. But the difference here is we will select some individuals, 2 or 3 individuals. It is better to have 2 or more. If we have select only one, just the validity of our evaluation or review system may be questioned by different individuals. So it is good to have 2 or more reviewers. But the challenge what we have faced particularly is there is a shortage of individuals who can review, and there is delay of review process when we give protocols or proposal for review for different individuals, and researchers most of the time are in short of time, and it maybe it also prolongs the time of review process. And the other is exemption of review. There are occasions where we can exempt depending on the nature of the research, whether that research or that protocol have a possibility of less harm, we can exempt. But if there is harm, we cannot exempt, or we need to go through a review process. But for example, in case if there is a need to use secondary data, that data has been stored, but the individuals or the source individuals may not be there, but that is a proper, that is under the institution. If that particular institution, for example, have data sharing mechanism or data sharing guideline or data sharing policy, that individual cannot be accessed. We can use the data from the institution by the permission of that particular institution. In that case, we can exempt just from reviewing that particular protocol. The other is accelerated review. In accelerated review, what we consider is the time urgency, or if there is a need to review that specific project or protocol within a short time. For example, as in the case of outbreak or as in the case of certain disastrous condition, we can go for accelerated review. And again, also sometimes there may be requests from researchers or from those who have previously submitted that protocol to amend. So there is a type of review for amendment. what part of that particular protocol is questioned or asked for amendment should be clearly stated in the document by the presenters or those who present the protocol, and that it's reviewed and approved just as a protocol that has been amended, because there are some changes that researchers or the principal investigators and the co-investigator have made on the previously approved protocol. These are protocols that have been approved, but there are requests of some changes. This may be depending on the need of the researchers. The other type is continuing review or renewal. Just the approval is given for 1 year for those individuals who get approval of their protocol. If that protocol will take more than a year, particularly for those researches that involves trial, clinical trial or other trials, will take a long period of time. So that should be renewed. So to renew that protocol and to allow it to proceed, there must be progress report. Reviewers or the secretariat will check whether that project is still active or not. One of the means for this is that obtaining progress report and also conducting supervision or inspection of whether the project is being implemented or not. In that case, renewal is offered based on their demand. Sometimes also there may be suspension or termination of approved protocols. This is again owing to different reasons. Researchers may terminate, or the board or the approving committee or the institutional research ethics committee can terminate or suspend the already approved protocol, depending on some factors or reasons that are justifiable and that can make the committee to stop or to terminate that project. So if the research is not being conducted according to the approved protocol, meaning that what has been done or what has been approved on the protocol should be implemented. If that is not, there should be a justifiable reason for failure to comply with that protocol. And if the failure for the compliance is unjustifiable, the committee or the board can terminate that protocol. And if there are, as I mentioned earlier, there are some challenges that the individual may face, he or she can also ask amendment if again that is justifiable. Otherwise, if there is failure to follow the approved protocol, that can be one reason for termination. And again, if there are some serious adverse effect or adverse events to the study participants, to the study subjects, because we may face what we didn't have expected when you go to the research, what we didn't have observed while we are developing our proposals or while working on our previous exposure may be faced after we get into the study. In that case, if the harm is more, or if the harm ratio is more than that of the benefit, in that case, termination is possible. And a research that creates potential threat to the safety and the welfare of research participants, as well as the community at large, can be terminated. In this case, it is mandatory to have a good information and to have a justifiable reason to terminate, because researchers also ask why it's going to be terminated. Because of this reason, it should be stated clearly by the one who is terminating. Even sometimes researchers by themselves, they may terminate because they may see some serious adverse effects that they haven't experienced or they haven't observed before, or unanticipated change may be there. So in that case, they by themselves, the researchers can also ask for termination. The other is the issue of external reviewers. As I mentioned earlier, the board is established from different professional background. Again, this may not also be enough. In such cases, there is a need to invite professionals from external. maybe from research institute, or it may be from professional associations, or it may be from universities or anywhere. If we can't have a reviewer or potential reviewer within the committee, it is ideal to invite individuals or professional from that specific background to review the protocol. In that case, those individuals should complete the declaration for conflict of interest. For example, we may not know who is the member of that specific protocol, who are the and how the co-investigator and the principal investigator are related with other professionals outside the committee member. In that case, genuinely, they are expected to declare that they didn't have conflict of interest in reviewing this protocol, and they can review this protocol, and they can give their genuine review result or review comments that should be approved by the external reviewers who are invited to review protocols. The other is the use of some policies and procedures. This is also indicated on the guideline in detail, and what is considered there is what is mentioned here. For example, there is an issue of informed consent, there is an issue of assent, waiver of informed consent, general requirements of the quorum that I have been mentioning earlier, 50+1, exemption, and a study submission requirement and approval for 1 year period are also mentioned there. As a decision, there are 4 categories of decision after evaluating a research proposal or a protocol. The first one is approved as it is, or as it is submitted, or assuming that or considering that all the reviewers or those who reviewed the proposal or the protocol have found that it has addressed all ethical issues and it can be accepted as it is. In that case, it may be approved directly. Or the second option is approval is given but with minor revisions or minor modification and correction. And the third one is approved, or the protocol requires major revision. After these comments are corrected, that protocol can be approved if it convinces the reviewers and the board. And the last and the final one is a protocol that is not being approved, or that is rejected protocol. But as by principle, the purpose of reviewing is not to reject that particular protocol or to not to grant approval. The point is to make researchers or to enable researchers have a better proposal or a better research project that may not have any undue ethical effect on the participants as well as the community at large. So in reviewing process, what we expect is researchers or project owners will get constructive comments so that they will develop their protocol or their proposal and will have better protocol.
Time is getting. Yes. Please wind up. Your time is almost.
Okay, I am finalizing.
Yeah, thank you.
Just most of the points from now on are what I have already typed. So the decision, as I mentioned, is made by the board if it is voted by 50+1, and the decision is communicated with the principal investigators, just for the sake of communication. This doesn't mean that the co-investigator does not have saying, but for formal communication, what we follow is communicating with the principal investigator, and the principal investigator is through the current practice communicated through email and formal letter after its approval. And the other is when submitting a protocol, there are different checklists on requirements that are stated, as well as when the protocol is approved, and there are also some components need to be mentioned that is there in the guideline, and we can communicate the decision. And again, we can also follow the protocols that has been already approved. That is the issue of documentation. We need to have a strong documentation system. We need to differentiate a protocol by its own number and its own principal investigator, host institution, and the date of approval are very important. This should be strictly followed by the research ethics review committee. And the final one is communication. Communication, as I mentioned earlier, is with the principal investigator, and it should be a formal communication, and there is also documentation. The other and the final one, what I want to say is there are some administrative and technical issues. The administrative issues, as what has been have been mentioning, but the technical ones are as a component, a research protocol that has been submitted for review for National Research Ethics Review Board or for Institutional Research Ethics Committee should have ideal components of a certain given proposal, starting from the title of the study, as well as some of the methodological aspects need to be included or incorporated in that document, and investigators' curriculum vitae and copy of investigators' curriculum vitae should be submitted along with the protocol with a cover letter. And just there is a need for monitoring and the reporting mechanism to research ethics review committee, and this is ideally every 6 months. We need to follow what we have approved and given approval, and those protocols should be followed by approving body. And the last one is nowadays or currently we are trying to make the review system online at national level. In fact, there are some institutions like Black Lion, Gondar, and the like who have already started online review system, and we are also trying effort to make the national research review process online. And we have gone through the development of the software, and we are making certain trainings for reviewers to launch or to initiate using that software. And this is all about. You are welcome for questions and comments. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Abulie, for giving us your nice presentation on the technical guideline of the National Research Ethics Working Document, which is recently, really, we are very happy that we have been updated, all the researchers, and maybe participants, we are out of time. I don't know, Alam, does the Zoom link will give us some time to continue this for discussion?
Yes, Dr. Erdaw. Yeah.
So we'll take some questions. Please, you can write your question on the chat box, or you can directly unmute yourself and ask questions, relevant questions for the participant, for the presenter. Thank you. Participants are invited now to raise questions. I don't see hands, or I don't know what you can unmute or just enter.
Two participants are raising hands.
Dr. Erdaw.
There is hand. Dr. Erdaw.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Erdaw and Dr. Abulie, for your nice presentation. I really appreciate the update which we have to follow. But I have one question. Maybe it may not be question, but do the guidelines, since we are not get access to see the full document, maybe it may be addressed in the document. But my worry is in our setup, there are double requesting of RBs when you are doing research in multi-center area. That means if we have a standardized IR review committee in the approved institutions, and if a researcher got or approved IR review, and can we minimize requesting of repeated IR reviews from different institutions? What is the suggestion of these conditions on the document? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. One more, or do you directly answer, Dr. Abulie? What's your choice?
Okay, I understand your question. The first concern is you didn't have both the guideline. We can share the guideline or the PDF. And the other question that you have raised is just doubling or evaluating the protocol or a proposal at different level by different ethics review committee. Just by principle, just those committees are given registration or approval to review. If one is reviewed, by principle, there is no need to repeat the same thing and worry the researcher and take the time and other resource of the researcher. Even at national level, what we are looking forward is just to have a strong institutional research ethics committee, whose members are well trained. We can evaluate the protocols there and who can follow the protocols and who can be communicated well. Because if we bring all protocols at national level, that will be impossible. We can't manage that. But as an option, or what the guideline states is the institution needs to be capacitated and there should be a strong institutional research ethics committee. In that case, if that is achieved, the national level will just simply endorse what has been reviewed. For example, if level A is there in black line, there is no need to stay for example, 3 months, 2 months, a month, and the like to go pass through all the review process. In that case, simple endorsement may be enough, or reducing the time of delayance for that protocol is mandatory, and what is the direction of the ministry is also the same. But currently, we didn't have established IRSs even for universities. It is only a few universities that have established and registered the IRBs and whose IRC members are trained for basic ethical principles. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There is one question in the chat box. Dr. Adam, raise your hand. Do you have something to say? Okay, if not, is there a platform for different IRB committees working in the same boundaries to interact with each other? One participant is raising such question. Is there an interaction platform?
Just the interaction is the first interaction is just giving them training altogether. What we are trying currently is just to give training in cluster. Though there are some challenges to bring together for one cluster. Even recently, we have tried to give training at Bardar University from participants from 5 universities. 6 are invited, 1 is absent, 5 have participated. That is good to share experience among them. But the challenge is to bring them. But ideally, we are expecting that just rather than giving the research or the capacity building training to a single institute, it is better to bring them together so that makes them share their experience. The other options that we can see is just conducting such webinars so we can share idea from our office or from different institutions. That's possible.
Thank you. Any participant, maybe one or more questions? Questions? Or Dr. Abulie, may I raise one question? Now, there is what we call nowadays from collaborative research, there is a problem that research is that is not allowed in high-income countries. Sometimes is tried to do in lower-income countries. Such type of ethics violation is called ethics dumping. You might come across with such type of words recently. And to fight this, there is also global code of conduct is emerged as a result to protect participants in the low-income countries from ethics dumping. How much the National Ethics Review Guideline is ready to safeguard, say, or to protect participants from such type of activities? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I know this is a very serious issue, and it is a real challenge too. And even we have seen some practical issues. For example, there are students who study abroad for masters or PhD, and they usually come to their home country or to us just to take sample. How that sample is being monitored, how the safety of the sample is maintained is as a challenge even currently. But when you come to the practice, the first thing in the guideline is stated clearly, we need to protect the society from such challenges, because currently there is technological advancement. We can even see what we have been facing as a country, for example, in storing some genetic materials or even some indigenous knowledge to our country. So we need to be taken, and it is the responsibility of all of us, not only by being a member of the committee, as a citizen or as a learned professional. We need to be cautious and we need to question. And one of them is, for example, for this is, there is material transfer agreements that such protocol need to get signed by the two parties, those who are receiving the sample as well as those who are sending the sample. And the other, for researches that come to our country from abroad, based on our guidelines, there is a need to at least one collaborating institution or professional from our country, just to minimize such risks that we have mentioned. But it is a real challenge, or it is a real current challenge that we all are expected to work on.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you. So maybe one sensitive issue for a participant, please, for Dr. Abulie to explain. If not, we may wind up. We are out of the scheduled time. So
yeah, I have had
Dr. Erdaw, do you have?
Yes, maybe two points. One is actually was to ask Dr. Abulie if the guideline is already active and is operational as we speak, or do we wait for any time point when to activate it? Other than that, maybe let me take this opportunity to thank Dr. Abulie on behalf of the IRB. And there were some questions related to certification from the chat as well. So you can contact La'alam on the email she provided about certificates, payments, and copies of recording. I think we'll continue working with Dr. Abulie at a national level. And I saw some comments about having a platform of IRBs. We are also working on that with him. We are also having advanced levels of trainings, master's training at College of Health Sciences to be launched soon as well. Officially, I mean, it's already active, but will be launched soon. So stay tuned for more. That's what I just wanted to say. And thank you, Dr. Abulie. But if you want to comment on any time point for activation of the guideline, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Adam. Thank you also for organizing this webinar as well, and for allowing us to share what we have. And concerning the guideline, we have started the dissemination. And earlier, when we talk with you at office, we have planned to conduct a launching program that is not possible to us for different reasons, but we have started disseminating the guideline in hard copies as well as in soft copies. So we have started operationalizing or implementing the guideline. So every interested institution or individual can contact me, also take the individual, the guideline in soft copy. There are also some hard copies that we can share for some organization, at least 1 or 2 copies per organization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Abulie, and all the participants for your joining us today, for taking this important message. It's really national technical guideline is important for all researchers of the country. And Dr. Adam, we may close the session, or
unless La'alam has any additional announcement.
በጣም እናመሰግናለን ዶክተር አቡሌን እና ዶክተር እርዳው በጣም አሪፍ ፕሬዘንቴሽን ነበር። እናመሰግናለን። የሰርቲፊኬት ኢንኩሪ ያላችሁ በኢሜል ኮንታክት አድርጉኝ፣ ወዲያውኑ ሪስፖንድ አደርጋለሁ። እናመሰግናለን።
Okay, thank you all coming and joining us today. This is a monthly IRV organized virtual webinar on research activities. We will continue to have such type of activities, selecting presenters from different sessions, and keep it up. Continue joining us. Thank you. We finished the day's session. It's an hour session, but it will. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Adam.
Ciao.
Thank you, Dr. Adam.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.